Well, you're going to have to indulge my 3 hot takeaways before we get to the film. Number 1, I think Jordan Addison is the key to this offense. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's the best player, but I think Jordan Addison is the key to all this because they have achieved a new level now that he and Darnold are on the same page. These last 4 weeks, just kind of like not always locked on Jefferson, making them pay when defenses pay too much attention to Jefferson. I think Addison, who I criticized like probably 4 weeks ago, and now he's been on a tear since then. And you were like, just wait. He's now on pace for probably close to 1,000-yard season after that huge game yesterday. I think he's the key to this whole thing.
Yeah, he's the key if you don't think that there could be kind of a good number 2 or counterpart outside of him on this offense. And Jalen Nailor, I guess to your point, really hasn't been that. And he doesn't even get targeted in this game because of how wild Addison and Jefferson went. Addison is, like we talked about a couple months ago when he started slowly, he's a first round wide receiver by talent. You could still see it. You could see all the things that you saw on Sunday, tracking the football when Darnold's arm gets hit and getting a 49-yarder, almost catching the pass thrown to him when he drew the 47-yard defensive pass interference. He's incredible at tracking the football. For a small, slight guy, he's also incredible at contested catches, soaring up over somebody who's often bigger than him and taking that ball away. It's what separates guys like him and guys like Devonta Smith from the rest of the guys who are shaped like those guys. And there's tons of them. Tons of guys like that come out in the draft. Yep. But few guys can run routes as precisely as those guys. And Devonta's the guy I compare him to often because not just the build, but just the style of play. I think Devonta's a little more rugged after the catch. He can gain you more yards on the run. Addison's more of that speedster, that deep threat. But you see even on, I think it was like a 3rd and 8 early in the game, Sam Darnold targeted him for a little 12-yard out. You're seeing those kind of plays often where just these little quick, gotta have it buckets when you know Jefferson's going to get targeted and blanketed. So in that vein, yeah, he has been the counterpart that honestly it's allowed them to bring TJ Hawkinson around kind of slowly, not overwork him as he eases his way back in. And it's allowed them to be such an explosive offense because Addison can do just about everything. And obviously Jefferson can as well.
Speaking of the offense, hot takeaway number 2, the guy who's been getting them the ball. They were chanting MVP for Darnold late. I look at the odds. This is even from like a week ago. Like he's 6th in the MVP odds. Now it's a distant 6th. Like it seems like Josh Allen is the odds-on favorite to win it this year, just with the season he's having. But I don't think it's crazy that they were chanting MVP because a quarterback who's putting up his numbers on a team that's 11-2, like that wasn't far-fetched. That wasn't just wishful thinking yesterday. He's playing like someone who's at least in that conversation.
Yeah, deserving of at least being in the conversation, certainly. When Josh Allen puts up 6 touchdowns on the same day, albeit in a loss, and Buffalo loses to the Rams. But I think what Josh is doing is just incredible. Lamar as well, but he's had his awards. I do think Sam is kind of that Brock Purdy argument from last year where people wanted to argue of like, is it him? Is it the coaching? Is it the weapons?
He's a system quarterback.
Exactly. I think Sam, though, is doing enough on the run. The 52-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson, where he has to buy so much time, blown protections, which they had throughout that game, before heaving that one up to Jefferson, it seemed like he had his arm up in the sky for 4 minutes before that
like
ball.
Like Randy Moss. That was like an old Moss thing. It's like, I'm open.
I felt bad if you watch that replay, too. The Falcons corner is so lost on what's happening that it's a comical like blooper reel the way he fell over and tried to track the ball opposite of where Jefferson actually was. But to Darnold's credit on that play, he made that happen. And I think Darnold said after the game, he goes, Jefferson cooked the guy on the route. That would have been a touchdown anyway. So yeah, like sure, in rhythm that might have been a touchdown, but he still made that happen in a way that the protection up front was not allowing you to. And that's the MVP kind of stuff. That's the stuff you want to see more often. That's the stuff where you are transcending, you are rising above your teammates around you and making other people right and making winning plays. And credit Sam for doing that. He's done that now for 4 straight weeks. He's averaged almost 300 yards over these 4 weeks each game. And then he's thrown 11 touchdowns to 0 picks in that stretch. He was lights out, obviously. And the weapons that we talk about, to go along with him. It brings out that third overall talent that the Jets saw way back in 2018.
Way back then, they might have been better off with Darnold at quarterback this year instead of the guy they chose, the enigma that they chose at quarterback. But that 52-yarder, I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like O'Connell sometimes, when he talks about Darnold, he will praise him, but he'll also say, left some stuff out there. Guys were open, especially like he's wanted him to still scan the field when he's scrambling, not just tuck it and run, always just scan the field when he's scrambling. So that felt like that was important. Like I think the camera showed him like talking to Darnold right after that throw. And I think after the game, he got asked about that. And he said he was basically telling him, not many guys could have made that play. I was almost wondering if he was telling him, like, that's what I want you to do. That was the example of, like, keep your head up when you're running, because instead of he probably could have scrambled for 10 yards and a first down, but instead it's 52 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, because there were moments earlier in the season, even in this past month, where that happened with Darnold, where he would just tuck and run, leave a big play out on the field. And I do think that that's probably been a coaching point week after week. We're seeing him manage a pocket better, which is all part of that. And when he gets sacked 3 times in the first half, like he did against the Falcons, and then Justin Jefferson's not getting his first target. This is wild. Like, he goes 7 catches, 7 targets, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. His first target was not until midway through the second quarter.
Right.
But when that happened, I think, thinking of the play right now, Darnold had pressure from his right. And at that point, he'd already been sacked 3 times. And instead of freaking out, tucking and running and thinking, I got to get out of here, I don't want to get sacked, strip sack and all the stuff that's happened before, he slightly steps to his left a little bit and then confidently fires across his body to Jefferson on the opposite hash. And that's the kind of stuff that you see great quarterbacks do. You see Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all the greats. They know when to run, when to flee, and when not to, and when to hang in there, and the play is still going to be there. And a guy on the other sideline, Kirk Cousins, did that for years in Minnesota. He was not mobile, so he couldn't run, but he was very, very good at throwing while getting hit and knowing how much time I got to get the ball out, or whether or not I need to tuck this thing and just take the sack. Sam has the wheels, and so that actually creates a different kind of balancing act for him. He needs to know, I can run away from this guy, but I can also get this 20-yard pass off, and that's what he did on Sunday. And so I think that's part of the coaching, it's part of the development, and it's credit to O'Connell, this entire coaching staff, for bringing this guy along. He's obviously playing the best football of his NFL career, and he's going to get paid by somebody next offseason.
Final one before we get to some more of the film. This is the negative one. I feel like the Vikings' run defense is a bit overrated. We hear about it ranking high in statistical categories. I think a lot of that is because they just haven't been run against a lot. Teams have been playing behind against them, and you've seen 2 teams in a row now be able to run against them. What do you think about that, and what are some of the underlying causes maybe of both Arizona and Atlanta being able to run on them more than other teams have?
Yeah, before these 2 weeks, the Vikings were, I think, top 5 in yards averaged against them per carry, at least by running back, certainly. And so they had a stretch there where they held Jonathan Taylor to under 50 yards, and then they went through a bunch of bad teams after that. But since then, Cardinals and now the Falcons. The Falcons are a great running team. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier are amazing at what they do. They got good schemes. They've been doing it together for a few years. And so that part of their offense was what you had to worry about going into this game. And from right off the bat, it was a 12-yard run by Bijan Robinson. Their opening drive ends in a 6-yard touchdown by Algier. And on that 6-yard touchdown, Blake Cashman was just washed out of the play. Mm-hmm. The Falcons seemed to go into this game saying, we're going to double Harrison Phillips as much as possible, and we're going to let these linebackers try to chase our running backs and just bet on our running backs. Well, you don't often do that. You often try to double and then scrape to the second level because you don't have a guy like Bijan who's just going to make so much happen. I don't think the Falcons respected the Vikings linebackers in this game. And Cashman had a lot of ups and downs against the run. They really miss Ivan Pace. Ivan Pace is no coincidence. He's missed these last 2 games that we're talking about. He's their best run defender at linebacker. He's instinctual. He's a maniac. He doesn't think twice. He just runs in there and you kind of blind faith at what he's doing sometimes. And it works out for him oftentimes. That's what they need. And they didn't have that attacking style. Josh Metellus is a safety who's still really in his first year doing a lot of this stuff. And then Cashman has been one of the best coverage and blitzing linebackers in football, but he's a so-so run defender. He'll make some plays, he'll give up some plays, and he missed some tackles in this one. So to me, they're missing some components. Pace is one of them. Pat Jones is one of their top rotational ends. He's like, short of Grenard, I think their best, and Van Ginkel, I shouldn't sell him short, but those three guys are really good at defending the run together.
Okay.
And when they didn't have Pat Jones and they were rotating in Dallas Turner, Gabe Murphy, all these other guys, Jihad Ward, those guys are not the same impact players. And you saw Dallas Turner specifically targeted at times where they'd run to Dallas Turner's side and then he'd line up on the other side. So they'd run that way at him. He just got moved too much. And I think he's still, Turner as a rookie is still slight. He's young. He needs to physically grow. And you're seeing why the Vikings, limit his roles, because certainly on rundowns, he's not playing well enough to be out there as much as he has.
So you're saying if they get a little healthier and then stop playing teams that were so good in the run. I mean, James Conner's a good back. Atlanta has two good backs, and these games were different. Like Arizona's playing with the lead a lot of that game, and the Falcons, this game is tied going into the third quarter or going into the fourth quarter. There's more opportunities to run than in some of these other games where everybody's chasing the Vikings.
Yeah, and this isn't to say that they shouldn't have done a better job against James Conner. They should have. I think Atlanta's a little more understandable because those two backs specifically are very, very talented. I do think, though, that they have a personnel issue, and that one that they've been kind of covering up, or at least playing above what they should be, or playing above their talent. The sum of their parts have been greater than their talent. Because when you look at Jerry Tillery getting targeted the way he did I think that was in the Arizona game last week. All of a sudden Tillery's not playing as much against the Falcons. And then Jalen Redmond's getting thrown in there. Well, Redmond's a second year.
My guy.
Redmond's a second-year undrafted guy, and he is good. He made some more impact plays, but there was also some times where he's trying to arm tackle Bijan. That's not going to work. You can't do that. So I think there's learning moments of guys and they're switching. They're trying to find answers in their personnel. They're not going to talk about that a ton. It's all going to be roses and gravy, and it's all great. But I think that this defense has a personnel lack of talent in the middle, and then when you don't have Ivan Pace, it really stands out. And Harrison Phillips is their best run defender at that anchor spot, and the Falcons just focused on him and tried to take him out.